And action! French cinema has one of the longest and most unique histories in film history. It starts literally at the beginning of cinema itself and expands all the way into the modern era. While researching and watching French films from many different decades, I started to notice a pattern that really stood out to me. Across different time periods, genres, and styles, French cinema almost always seems to focus on one of two things: visual experimentation or social reflection, and sometimes both at the exact same time. In this video essay, I'm going to break down French cinema frame by frame and discuss how French cinema developed these two ideas by using four major films from different eras to show the overall trajectory of French national cinema. First off, let's go back to the beginning. It would be a crime to not talk about French filmmaker Georges Méliès. Early French cinema wasn't really about realism just yet, it was more about discovery and experimenting with films. Filmmakers during this time were trying to figure out what film could even do. In the film A Trip to the Moon, directed by Georges Méliès, is a prime example of this. The film experimented with certain film techniques, some of which still used today. The film contained hand-painted sets, actors in costumes and makeup, stop-motion tricks, double exposure, and the jump cut, a technique discovered by Méliès himself by accident. This film shows that from the very start, French cinema treated film as an art form and something meant to amaze people, not just to record reality like most other films from the time. By the 1920s, French cinema took a very different turn. Instead of fantasy and experimentation, filmmakers started focusing on more realism and emotion. The Passion of Joan of Arc tells the story of Joan's final hours before her execution. What makes this film so powerful is how simple it is. The film uses extreme close-ups, natural lighting, and minimal sets. There are no flashy special effects, just expressions and emotions. Even though this film came out during the silent film era, the motions and facial expressions of each character make the emotions of the film feel very intense. The Passion of Joan of Arc, when and how French cinema began using realism and acting performance to reflect human experiences and events, instead of creating imaginary worlds. Now, let's discuss one of my personal favorite eras of French cinema, the French New Wave. The French New Wave takes realism and then combines it with experimentation. In the film The 400 Blows, director Francois Truffaut quote-unquote breaks many traditional filmmaking rules. This film is shot on real locations, using handheld cameras, natural lighting, and non-professional actors. This is different from the previously mentioned films, as it uses real places, real people, rather than sets, stage props, and skilled actors. The 400 Blows is also deeply reflective and represents French society at the time, especially the struggles of young people. This film and era shows just how French cinema has used new styles to tell deeply personal and social stories based on real life and real events. Now, let's fast forward to today. In the modern era of French cinema, the film La Haine brings everything together. The film focuses on police brutality, poverty, and racial tensions in France during the 1990s. Director Matthew Kassovitz made a decision of filming this movie in black and white, giving it a harsh and cold visual style. The opening credits scene of this movie uses real footage of police riots and chaotic news footage. This immediately grounds the film in real-world events. While the film is very realistic and follows a realistic plot, it still experiments around with style, camera movement, and structure. La Haine is a film that proves that even in modern French cinema, filmmakers continue to use style as a tool to reflect social and political events and realities. In short, if you look across all four of these films, we can clearly see the trajectory of French cinema, from the imaginative experimentation of Georges Méliès to the emotional realism of Joan of Arc, to the personal storytelling of the French New Wave, and finally, to the political relevance of La Haine. French cinema constantly moves between experimentation in social reflection. And cut.